The fixtures are out, the new season is close upon us, and FPL Team has predicted player prices for next season. That means it's time for a first draft. Okay, so rather than go through every single team's fixtures in detail, that would end up with this being a very long video. What I've done is I've pulled off the Ben Crellin fixture planner. Full credit to Ben Crellin on Twitter for creating this one. Some highlight teams for me: Arsenal, Brighton, Man City. Those are the three, and Chelsea as well, but I'm not really sure about picking Chelsea players. They get off to a really nice start, along with Brentford as well. Actually, the Brentford start's pretty good too. Those teams are the kind of ones that I'm looking at from a fixtures perspective. You can, take your pick from that list yourself, looking at the fixtures and seeing if you fancy any of the players from the other teams. But yeah, those guys that I've mentioned, those teams that I've mentioned are the ones certainly I'll be considering for this draft. So just before I get into all the detail of my team, I'm going to give full credit to the FPL Team website. They've done a full list of players, price predictions, and allow you to build a team for next season based upon those. Looking at their price predictions, to be honest, I don't think they're far off on a lot of the players. So you can really use that as a guideline and to scratch the itch of wanting to make an FPL draft. What I've done, this is my first draft. I've gone for Sam Johnson in goal. Comes in at 4.5 million in the FPL team. And for me, Palace have signed Hodgson for another season. I feel like he has improved them so much under what they were under Patrick Vieira. Sheffield United away is the first fixture, 4.5 million. Seems to be first choice now over Guaita. I think Sam Johnson is probably the best goalkeeper to start with. We'll see how they get on in pre-season as to whether he actually plays minutes. If Guaita plays, every game of pre-season, then it's pretty obvious Johnson's not going to start in the Premier League. But, so we'll keep an eye on that one. But for me, he's the standout of the 4.5 keepers. Alexander-Arnold, Zinchenko and Estupinian in defence. I think Estupinian's the pick of the Brighton players, and Brighton have got a really nice run. Trent playing that new midfield position, I think he's just too good of an option to pass up on. And Zinchenko, Arsenal, literally one of the best defenders in the league last season. He's a sure starter in that team and probably the most advanced of all those defenders. So for me, he's got to make my team. Those four are my starting goalkeepers and defenders. On to then the midfielders and forwards. I've gone for a 3-5-2 with this team. Got Pascal Gross, Martinelli, Odegaard, Rashford, March, and Bumo. I think that's how you say it, and Haaland. Pascal Gross, I feel like he's going to take up the McAllister role. Now McAllister's obviously signed for Liverpool. Remains to be seen if Brighton sign themselves a replacement for him. But before McAllister, became cemented in the first team for Brighton, Gross was the penalty taker. And actually, if you look at the points across the Brighton midfielders last season, Gross was actually ended up to be the top scoring one. I've got a feeling he's going to kick on next season, have an even better campaign, maybe take some more set pieces and certainly get the penalties back. So for that reason, I think he's a great option. Martinelli, I don't really need to say much more about him. For me, at least, he was a star-performing Arsenal midfielder. I don't think he's the best player, but I think he was the best performing player last season. He really came out of his shell last year and had a great season. For that reason, I think you've got to go for him again, as well as the fact that Arsenal have a fantastic start to the season. Martin Odegaard is my other one. Again, one of the best, the three Arsenal midfielders, Saka, Martinelli and Odegaard. Take your pick of them, really. I've gone for Martinelli and Odegaard because they're the two cheapest ones, and I can only pick two of them because I've got Zinchenko in defence. So those are the guys that I've gone with. No disrespect to Saka. He's just a little bit more expensive, so I can't afford him. Rashford, for his fantastic end to the season last season, I think he deserves a place in my team. Again, I think he's going to be the main man going forward for Man United. Solly March, he hurt me last season, getting benched and injured. I think he'll be first choice coming into the team for that Luton at home fixture in game week 1. For that reason, and also he had the best underlying numbers of all the Brighton midfielders, despite Gross outscoring him in terms of points. In terms of expected goals and expected assists, Solly March was number 1. So for that reason, I'm going to go for him over someone like Mitoma. And Bumo, he's going to take the penalties off of Tony while Tony's out. And the track record of Mbumo with no Tony in the team is actually really good for Brentford. We took a look at their fixtures, Tottenham at home to kick things off. I mean, you fancy an Mbumo goal in that game. And for the remaining fixtures we saw from Brentford earlier, they got a nice run and I think he's a good option. Erling Haaland, don't need to say any more about him. He's a shoe into my team and I think he'll be in everyone's team, to be honest. I've actually got the captaincy on Martinelli, but I think Burnley away, I'm going to be captaining Erling Haaland game week 1. But yeah, that's my midfield and the forwards. And here's the team as a whole with my bench. I've gone for Peacock Farrell. Yet to see if there's a 4.0 million starting keeper. If there is, then he will go in my team above Peacock Farrell. I just know that Peacock Farrell played a number of games in the Championship last year. I don't think he's first choice for Burnley though, so basically I'm going to do my research, see if any of the 4 million keepers play during pre-season, and then I might consider putting them in my team instead. Gone for Pinnock as my 4.5 defender bench slot. He's just a solid starter for Brentford, and with Brentford having a really good start to the season, I think he's probably the pick of the 4.5 defenders. Billy Sharp, I don't think he's going to be starting for Sheffield United, don't get me wrong, but I do think he's going to get some minutes, or at least the most minutes of the strikers that are priced at 4.5 million. We'll see how he actually gets out in the real game, because obviously this is FPL teams' predictions. They've got him in at 4.5 million. We'll see what comes out in terms of price. You know, if he doesn't come out at that price, I think it's fine, and I'm going to go for someone else and just bench him as my third option. Patterson, we'll see how much he comes at. FPL team again, I've got him at 4 million. If we get another starting defender at 4 million, then he's going to go on my bench. For the time being, I've got Patterson, but I think with the fact that Seamus Coleman is really getting on a bit now, despite having a really good year last year, I do think, you know, he could be a bit more expensive considering he's probably predicted to play most games. So we'll see how FPL price him up. But yeah, that's the full team. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little view of my first draft of the season. I'll leave a link in the description to FPL team for you to check it out yourself and have a play around. Hopefully it scratches the itch if you wanted to build an FPL team before the game actually comes out for real. If you enjoyed the video, disagree or agree with any of my picks, leave a like if you enjoyed and comment depending on your views. And yeah, subscribe to the channel to see some more content. I'll catch you in the next video.